All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have yet another casualty of the gaming industry in 2025. I got to tell you guys, it's every week at this point that we are reporting on some studio that's either closing down, firing a majority of their staff, having trouble finding funding for whatever their projects may be. It is a bloodbath out there, and it's only getting worse. And I'm not kidding, because we have another story that we have to go over today, and that has to do with a studio called Iron Galaxy. Now, Iron Galaxy just recently announced a couple of days ago that they have laid off 66 employees in a last resort to try to keep their studio afloat and to maintain long-term survival. We have seen many studios do this year and also last year, and most of them, if not all of them, end up closing down a few months later because they just cannot sustain themselves. And here we are yet again experiencing that exact same thing with Iron Galaxy. So let's get into this article, guys, from PC Gamer. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So the headline reads, Iron Galaxy lays off 66 employees in a last resort effort to enable our long-term survival. The studio says that after doing all it could do to keep its team intact, it has run out of room to maneuver. Now, I've told you guys many times in many videos, and I sincerely believe this, but I just have no tie to it right now because we just don't know. We don't have official information from Doge, but I gotta imagine that the studios that are all closing down all of a sudden, we got a bunch of studios closing down, firing people, laying people off, whatever. We have that happening like crazy this year, and I think the reason why is because there is a tie to Trump being in office. And I know people are going to be like, well, what's the evidence? I don't have any. All I'm saying is I find it very ironic that Trump gets into office, Doge is enacted, the government funding starts to get cut, if not completely removed, from a multitude of different segments all throughout the country. And before you know it, suddenly all these people that were able to get funding before for their projects now magically can't get funding, right? These studios are saying they're pitching their ideas and they're trying to get funding, and all of a sudden they can't get funding anymore. They never really had this issue before, and that's because money was freely flowing and money was being given to them. I'm telling you, if money was not being given to them directly, then it was being given to the investors that were investing in them directly. Regardless of the fact, I think the USAID money being taken away has made a drastic impact on the gaming industry, but we just don't have a tie to that right now, unfortunately. We don't have an official statement from Doge or anything like that showcasing anything within the gaming industry right now. But do not get it twisted. I think we will eventually at some point get that sort of information coming out, and we're going to find out exactly why all these studios suddenly can't get funding for these video games that they were able to get funded before. There's been games like this before out there, and they've been able to get funding, so why can't they now? I just find it to be very interesting. Iron Galaxy, the developer of Killer Instinct Seasons 2 and 3, Extinction, and Rumbleverse, is laying off 66 employees as a last resort effort to keep the studio afloat. For several years now, we have watched our industry undergo significant change, the studio wrote in a message posted on the Iron Galaxy website. So many of our friends and colleagues who work in game development have suffered a series of painful adjustments. We've seen talented people lose their jobs. Inspiring companies have closed their doors. Our own game, Rumbleverse, was met with a premature sunset. You know what's crazy? I think it's amazing that these people constantly try to come up with this thing about, oh, these are super talented developers that are losing their job. These are super talented teams that are losing their jobs. If that was the case, they would not be losing their jobs 9 times out of 10. They would probably still be afloat because their game would be a success. The gamers would love their product and they would be showcasing their talent. Unfortunately, I don't really think that's the case. I think it's the perception of talent. I think it's a toxic positivity environment. I think it's people that don't want to admit that perhaps developers are not as talented today as they used to be. I've always said this, and you guys know, I want the industry not to be majority men. I don't want the industry to be majority women. I want the gaming industry to be majority nerd filled. That's what I want. I want nerds to take over the gaming industry again and bring it back to what it was, because nerds are the one that made the gaming industry, and they are also going to be the ones that save it. Right now, we have too many people, both male and female, that are just absolute garbage hires. They are unskilled developers, and they are taking up all the space without providing us with anything that is tangible whatsoever. We need to bring nerds back to the gaming industry. For several years now, we have watched our industry undergo significant change. And again, by saying this, I think it's hilarious because they don't want to admit what's actually happening, right? They don't want to admit the conversation that's taking place right now. They just want to say, oh, it's undergoing significant change. The change is the simple fact that you guys overextended yourselves during COVID. You thought that people were going to buy your stuff no matter what. You were buying into all this DEI nonsense in 2020, and that is extrapolated all the way to 2025. But now the money's running dry, and now you're trying to say it's significant change. The only change that's happening right now is that people are starting to vote with their wallets a lot easier, number one, because their backlogs are bigger. And number two, the governmental money that was funding a lot of these projects has now decided to dry up, and you have nowhere to go. You guys are literally like homeless right now. All the while, at Iron Galaxy, we've been making sacrifices to keep our teams intact. It has been our hope that we could emerge from this long winter alongside all the teammates who have come to work with us over the years. Today, we're making the unfortunate announcement that we have run out of room to maneuver amidst this slow recovery. Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, there is no slow recovery. Okay, quite frankly, what it is that they just cannot get the money that was readily and easily available in the past. It's just not there anymore. And again, I can't tie it to US aid right now, but I gotta imagine it's something along those lines. I mean, look at Wings Interactive, for example. You know, Master of the TDS went down this rabbit hole just a couple of days ago that showcased that the Wings Interactive company was getting government money from the French government. I mean, they were getting literally $160,000 to $200,000 in government grant money for their projects. And it's multiple grants. It's not even just one. It's ridiculous how much government money was being handed out to these studios. And this is why there were so many small subsidiary studios and small subsidiary companies being made. Because for every small subsidiary company that was tied to a bigger one, they each got government grants for those separate companies, leading to a lot of easy money that was taken from government officials. It's insane stuff, man. I'm telling you, you follow the money, you're going to find some crazy stuff. But again, in total, we have reduced our employee base by 66 people. This was a means of a last resort for us. It's a measure we do not take lightly to enable our long-term survival. Iron Galaxy was founded in 2008 and released its first game, Racketeer, in 2012. It followed that with Dive Kick, support for Killer Instinct, Extinction, and its most original game, Rumbleverse, a wrestling battle royale that launched in 2022. Rumbleverse lasted only 6 months before it was taken offline in February 2023. Well, to be fair, you lasted a lot longer than Concord, so congratulations. That's got to be a plus. But Iron Galaxy has also worked as a co-developer and support studio on numerous high-profile games over the years, including Skyrim, Overwatch, Uncharted, Fallout 76, and Diablo 3, which then co-CEO Adam Boyce said in 2024 interview with Games Industry, creating more of a spiderweb sort of system, a support system that we try to have a myriad of partners and projects to create a bit more stability. So quite frankly, what it is that the studio cannot survive and make enough money just by making games on their own. Their games don't sell enough for them to survive. So in order to keep them afloat, they work and outsource work to other studios and help them with their games. That way they could get paid doing that. And the combined effort and the money that they get from that can keep the studio afloat on top of the small amount of sales that they get with their own original IPs. But it clearly isn't working anymore. In that same interview, Boyce also emphasized the studio's approach to transparency with its employees, including monthly Q&A sessions with the Iron Galaxy's co-CEOs. You can't hide from the realities of what's happening in the industry, he said. If you're not talking about it, you got your head in the sand. And if you're doing that, what are you? What kind of leader are you? Now, I agree with that last statement. I wish they would apply that, completely, not just, internally. It seems like they're having internal conversations about the state of the industry right now, but I think it would be most beneficial for you guys to approach the conversation about the gaming industry on the outside head on and realize what exactly is happening and how you can avoid going down the same rabbit hole that other studios who have completely lost their entire studio after firing a majority of their staff anyway, to avoid going down that same rabbit hole that they're going down. But unfortunately, that just doesn't work anymore. People are going to do what they're going to do. And it looks like this studio is going to be another studio that 3 to 6 months from now, we're going to be hearing is going to close down. And we're all going to say, well, saw that coming. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.